going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. The first story that I've got for you, the results of the Romania MuscleFest Pro. So it wasn't anything super surprising. Your top four was what we expected it to be, including Rafael Brandao, Akeem Williams, Emir Omaragic, and Horse MD. Your top two was obviously Rafael and Akeem, which is exactly what we thought going into this show. Rafael ended up winning, Akeem ended up in second, Emir ended up in third, and Horse ended up in fourth. And we should mention Christian Wolski as well. We talked about him a little bit going into the show. He was fifth. Now, I thought Akeem looked really impressive here. Honestly, I think Akeem looked better than he looked at the Olympia. And I know there's a lot of talk right now about that top two. A lot of people had Akeem winning. A lot of people had Rafael. This seemed to be a pretty close decision, at least in the eyes of the fans. I know I saw a lot of comments on some of the Instagram pictures of Akeem saying Akeem was robbed. And I do feel like this was a really good look for Akeem. I just don't know if I would say robbery, because I feel like this could have gone either way. But definitely, and I think if you look at the pictures do Akeem a lot better justice than the videos that I've seen. I've watched a couple different videos from the stream, like iPhone footage. I think the pictures, though, do Akeem much better justice. And I was looking at these pictures, and it looked very, very close. But I thought Rafael even looked about as good, maybe better, than he looked at the Olympia as well. So I could see an argument for both of them. But Akeem, it was a really solid look. I look at some of these poses, and just the overwhelming size of Akeem is pretty crazy. But I look at shots like the front lat spread, for example. Akeem, you can't really see the separation in his abs in that pose like you can with Rafael. Rafael's quads look deeper separated than Akeem's in that pose. And Rafael's taper, obviously, is better than Akeem's in that pose. And so I look at some of these poses, and you don't really see a blowout for either guy. And then you look at a pose like the side chest, for example. We know that Akeem's strongest poses tend to be from the side. This is one of those things that makes it look really close, because I mean, Akeem's legs look absolutely insane from the side. And in this side chest, his legs look a lot better than Rafael's. But then if you actually look at the upper body, Rafael looks nice and full and big throughout the pecs, the arms, the shoulders. He's in good shape. You look at his midsection, you can still see his serratus. You can see some of his abs. You don't really see Akeem's serratus. You don't really see his abs. Definition-wise, throughout the chest, him and Akeem look pretty similar, but Rafael looks a little bit tighter. So Akeem has got this crazy size in his upper body, but if you really look at him next to Rafael, yeah, Akeem's legs look better, but in the side chest, they're pretty even. So it's really close, I feel like, between these two guys. And I can see the argument, like I said, for either guy, and I can see why people are saying robbery. I would just say it was very, very close. And then if you go to the back poses, you go to a pose like the back lat spread. I would say this is probably one of the better looks Akeem has had from the back when it comes to his lower body. You can see, pretty dug out hamstrings, pretty good detail in the glutes for Akeem. Not something you see all the time from him, but pretty good look from the back. But then if you look at his lower back, you can kind of see those folds of skin where he's holding either fat or water, and you don't see the same, degree of folds on Rafael's lower back. But then you go to a pose like the abs and thighs, which should be a really good pose for Rafael because he's one of the more aesthetic guys as an open bodybuilder. But then you look at Akeem, and he's like the only guy with striations, cross striations in his quads, and he's like the biggest of the four guys. And his abs actually look really good. You can see his serratus, pretty deep abs for Akeem. Definitely looks better than Emir in that pose. So it is a really close one, but I don't have a problem with Rafael winning it. I think Rafael was sharper overall, and he's made so many improvements in the last year as far as putting on size. Akeem is a big dude. Akeem is a freak, and I didn't see really one pose where Akeem really dwarfed Rafael and made him look small. And I was even looking at the most muscular, and granted the lighting's not the greatest here. But size-wise, next to Akeem, Raphael looks pretty comparable in the most muscular. And you can kind of see, and again, it might be the lighting, it might be the angle, but Akeem has kind of that soft look to his physique next to Raphael. So I can see in certain poses just the overall sharper physique was Raphael's. And Akeem's really strong suit being his size, I didn't really see many shots or any shots where it was like, oh, he makes Raphael look crazy small. I would say one of the best shots, my favorite shot of Akeem's, was the front double bicep. His arms look insane in that pose. He's got crazy peaks to his biceps, a ton of size to his arms. But if you look at his overall physique in that pose, Raphael has the better taper. His arms are definitely smaller than Akeem's, and I would say his legs look more separated than Akeem's in that pose. And I just feel like the flow of Raphael's physique overall in the front double bicep looks better than Akeem's flow, but Akeem looks freakier in that pose. And like I said, it's my favorite pose of Akeem's, and I still think even in this pose, it's not like a blowout between him and Raphael. And I think this is one of Akeem's best poses because his arms are just so crazy, just dominant. And that pose is about your biceps. But it also takes everything else into account. And I believe it was the last 3 times in a row that Akeem and Raphael have competed against each other. Raphael has beat Akeem the last 3 occasions, which I believe would be Romania, the Olympia, and the Arnold. And Raphael looks way better than he looked at the Arnold, so it shouldn't be that surprising that he beat Akeem again, because the last 2 times he beat him. But anyway, we do know that Akeem has said he's not going to be going on to Prague next weekend. We also know that Raphael's plan was to win this show and go to the Olympia, not do any other shows, so looks like he successfully executed that plan. He's also not going to Prague. Horse is going to Prague. I don't know about Emir. I thought Emir Omaragic looked pretty good here, so maybe he does also do the Prague show. Now, speaking of guys that potentially might compete in Prague, and again, I still feel like this is a bit of a stretch. This is a bit of a reach. But today, Ramon Dino did a guest posing at a muscle contest show in Colombia. And there's been a lot of speculation about the possibility of Ramon, also just for fun, competing in the Prague show in open with C-Bum to have one last, attempt at their rivalry, even in a different division. And I look at this guest posing of Ramon, and now that we're, over a year now after the Olympia, Ramon is already qualified for next year's Classic Physique Olympia, so he doesn't have to compete anymore between now and 2025's Olympia. And what stood out to me is he still looks like he's in really good shape, but bigger. I don't know if I would say he looks like he's 1 week out in this guest posing, but he does look like he's in pretty good shape. And again, if he did an open show like Prague, I feel like it would just be similar to Chris, just kind of doing it for fun and to compete with Chris one last time because they had such a good rivalry. And again, another reason is that him and Horse MD are really good friends, and Horse is doing that show. And then we saw Ramon repost something on his Instagram story kind of teasing that he might do the Prague show. And it's hard to really say because it's not really fair to compare, like an update of Ramon a week out from the Olympia where he's doing Classic Physique with a weight limit to this guest posing, trying to speculate on whether or not he's a week out from doing Prague, because if he'd be doing open, he would look a lot different at a week out than he would look, from the Olympia doing Classic Physique. So who knows? But the guest posing just really stood out to me from the standpoint of, like I said, we're more than a month after the Olympia now. Ramon doesn't have to compete. He doesn't have to qualify. He could just be deep into his offseason and just enjoy between now and next year's Olympia. And like I said, while I wouldn't say he looks like he's 1 week out, he doesn't look like he's in the offseason either. He looks like he's in pretty good shape still for someone that is already qualified and doesn't need to compete. So maybe we do see him do the Prague show. But again, I think it's kind of a reach. I just would like to see that happen. Now, the final story that I have for you guys today, I thought this was newsworthy because we've talked about this before. Jeff Seid, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of him, know who he is. He's been competing in natural competitions, and recently, and he did a competition this weekend known as the Natural Olympia, one of the biggest natural bodybuilding shows there is. He competed in men's physique, and he won the whole thing. So I think it's just fascinating because I think the general consensus was, especially during Jeff Seid's like peak years of popularity on social media, it felt like the general consensus was that he was on gear. So obviously that comes with a bit of controversy now that he's competing in a natural federation. Then also I talked to some of the competitors that competed in that show, and they even said they felt like Jeff shouldn't have won. So I know there's a lot of controversy around Jeff competing in these natural federations as far as, is his natural status truly legit as far as being a lifetime natural? And it seems like from talking to some of the competitors, there's also like a little bit of controversy with, is he only winning so much because he is a big name? And this is a small, natural federations are honestly very, very small. And they don't get a lot of attention. They don't get a lot of exposure because, frankly, it's just not as exciting as pro bodybuilding. Not as many people are willing to watch it. I believe it's the healthier, the better, the safer alternative to pro gear bodybuilding. But the unfortunate reality is people don't want to see something safe. They want to see the dangerous. They want to see the freaks. They want to see something that they don't see every day, which is why the Olympia, the real Olympia, sells so many tickets, is you can go into really any gym across the world and see a natural bodybuilding caliber physique. You can't, however, walk into any gym across the world and see an IFBB Pro or Mr. Olympia level physique. That's what makes people buy the pay-per-view. That's what makes people buy tickets. That's what makes people go and see it, because it's not something you see every day. And unfortunately, even though I think natural bodybuilding is a lot safer and healthier, you can see natural physiques that look really impressive almost anywhere. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about Jeff Seid, just in general, competing and winning, all these big titles like natural Mr. Olympia and all these natural federations? What do you think about his natural status in general? Do you believe it? Do you not? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification icon if you have not already. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NickStrengthPower. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.